And joining us on the live line, Adriana Kong, Market President for Bank of America in Tucson and Southern Arizona, and Pima Community College Chancellor Lee Lambert. Chancellor Lambert chaired the Sun Corridor, Inc. Workforce Development and Training Focus Area for what is called the Pivot Playbook, which is a formal blueprint aimed at addressing a number of economic development issues. Adriana and Lee, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Tell me a little
Great
bit.
to hear Adriana's voice too.
Oh, great to have you both. Great to have you both with us. Adriana, Bank of America, very supportive of our community, and I wondered what was the reasoning behind becoming really the exclusive sponsor of the Sun Corridor Pivot Playbook.
Yes, definitely. You know, the support for Sun Corridor and the Pivot Playbook is directly connected to Bank of America's overall commitment to help strengthen all of the communities where we live and work. We believe that the Pivot Playbook can help create economic mobility and foster a strong recovery for all in our community. As you're aware, and I know this is an understatement, but the health and humanitarian crisis affected all of us, but it's taken an especially large toll on our business community in Southern Arizona. So since the start of the pandemic, Bank of America has really been focused on working with business clients of all sizes to tackle new challenges, such as helping to secure support under the CARES Act, and also finding solutions for changing operational and capital needs. So, you know, this work continues as we look to emerge stronger, and together we're moving forward within the community. And also, you know, this is where the Pivot Playbook really came into play.
Chancellor Lee Lambert, we just were speaking with General Maxwell, Ted Maxwell, on the program. He was with me here in studio, and I asked him, do you think, have we emerged from the pandemic relatively with a relative strong economy? What would you say to that, Chancellor Lambert?
I would first of all say that, you know, we have positioned ourselves well to respond to any type of crisis that would come our way. So I think if you look at it that way, of course, who would have thought the pandemic would be the crisis? So I think we're in relative good position compared to many other communities.
When you look at this whole Pivot Playbook, are we ahead of the game? This is being talked about a lot now on the national level, Lee.
Oh, I would say we are well ahead of the game, and that's because of decisions we made pre-pandemic. So I'll give you some examples. Our board supported a very ambitious, visionary plan to create, among other things, centers of excellence that really expand capacity in critical business and industry opportunities in our community. So IT, cybersecurity, healthcare, applied technology, public safety, and more. So the fact that we were already thinking ahead really placed us in a very competitive position going forward.
Pima Community College has been a leader in our area in workforce development and training. So the bones were good, right, to begin with.
The bones, so that's what we've been strengthening. That's what my reference was. So absolutely, the bones are good. And so the pandemic is just only accelerating our need to move quicker into the direction we're going, and that's why the Pivot Playbook is so essential for that acceleration to happen.
Adriana, join us here and talk a little bit about Bank of America and workforce development. Why is that important to everybody over at B of A?
Sure. You know, at Bank of America, we've recognized that what a critical component workforce development is if we're going to successfully create economic mobility. So that is why Bank of America is working with nonprofit organizations, employers, and a broad network of partners across the country to support workforce development efforts to meet the demands for a diverse talent pipeline. In Tucson, workforce development has been a key focus of Bank of America's efforts to invest in our community because we believe creating pathways to sustainable wage jobs will fuel the economic growth. But, you know, like with Bank of America's support, partners like Pima Community College, which has the power to prepare students of color with education and training needed to secure quality jobs, can now improve completion rates to directly support Tucson employers and enable those students to achieve greater economic independence. The economic recovery efforts can't be just about returning to status quo. They must be about building back equitably by developing a workforce ready to take on these 21st century jobs. This will not only help attract top companies to our region, but also ensure Tucson's economy is open and thriving for all.
Workforce development is something, Lee Lambert, that has been talked about for years here. How do you define it when it comes to what we need in the post-COVID economy? If you could elaborate a bit on that for me.
Sure. But let me first touch on this, Bill. I want to thank Adriana, Lacey on her team, and the others, Bank of America, because they saw in what Pima Community College was doing, and they advocated for the fact that we are part of that $25 million Bank of America Jobs Initiative to bring more people of color into good-paying jobs in our community. So I want to thank Bank of America for their vision and support. And because that's essential to what we mean by workforce development. It's really preparing individuals not only for today but for the future opportunities. And those future opportunities are going to require a growing set of new skills to work in hybrid jobs in other areas. You can't do that without great partners like Bank of America.
Adriana Kong Romero is with us, representing Bank of America here in southern Arizona. Adriana, talk a little bit about how you see us recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. I know that some of the B of A, you had to kind of, across the country, B of A had to do kind of a reset. How is the kind of the reemergence out of the pandemic going at Bank of America?
Sure. Yeah, the rapid spread of COVID-19 created health, economic, environmental, and social challenges around the world. But we don't see COVID-19 as a temporary crisis, but just an opportunity to really move forward, rebuild, and create some advancement. So as we looked at a report from our global research team called The World After COVID, it studied 3,000 companies across 25 market sectors and identified a few mega trends. So working closely with some of these businesses across the country, these trends we're able to look at and help, move forward. So one of them being, technology wars. We saw a higher investment in data tracing to better prepare for future health crises. COVID-19 also significantly increased the use of technology to support working from home, with 50% of the sector analysts expecting technology investments to continue to grow because of that. For us in the banking sector, we saw small business transactions just skyrocket. And so when we currently looked at it just for our second quarter earnings, the volume was still up 123% year over year as our small business clients turned to digital solutions instead of issuing cash and checks. So, we saw a great pivot, and we're starting to continue to see that going forward. And then there's also still the greater focus on health. So COVID-19 really drew attention to the importance of healthcare and the critical role it plays in national security and economic growth. And lastly, we have the new consumers. So Generation Z grew up with online, and they thrive in digital. But, it was easy for them to pivot. But then it also really brought forward, what are some other ways where we can work with other customers that it may have not been digital natives, as, they called Generation Z. But, so as we worked with them, we saw that a lot of these habits are likely to stick, which implicates, just some of the business strategies going forward.
We're talking about the Sun Corridor, what's called the Pivot Playbook, and there are 5 focus areas: company recruitment, talent acquisition and retention, shovel-ready and real estate. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and tourism. And today we are focusing on talent. We're focusing on workforce development and training with Adriana Kong Romero, the market president for Bank of America in Tucson and southern Arizona, and Lee Lambert, the chancellor of Pima Community College. We'll continue with our conversation with our 2 guests right after this. Family-owned Jam Culinary Concepts and its family of restaurants has you covered for your special event. Jam caters anytime, anywhere, any size group, and any type of cuisine. Vero Amore, authentic Neapolitan pizza, and Noble Hops. Craft beer and fine fare are synonymous with quality. Call 954-1468 or log on to jamculinaryconcepts.com.
Hello, I'm Jeanette Bewley, President and CEO of the Tucson Airport Authority, with news of our new effort to ensure air traveler safety and security going through our terminal. It's called TUS Cares, and you can read more about it on our website, flytucson.com. As you carefully weigh your decision to fly, I want you to know whether it's next week, next month, or next year, we are here for you at Tucson International Airport. Thank you.
When the public weighed in on the first draft of the Regional Transportation Authority Plan, the RTA responded by revising the final plan before voter approval in 2006. The RTA is preparing for a new plan for voter consideration by June 2026 and invites your input on regional transportation priorities. A draft plan will be presented for further public review. Submit your input or learn more at rtanext.com.
Hi, this is Pam Krim, CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Southern Arizona, where we set the standards for marketplace trust by engaging with and educating consumers and businesses. The BBB is the place to turn for objective and unbiased information on businesses. Learn more about the many services offered by the Better Business Bureau of Southern Arizona at bbb.org/Tucson.
The Green Valley News and Sarita Sun cover two of Arizona's most desirable communities. The newspapers reach more than 75% of the communities each week, with a combined population of more than 50,000. The Green Valley News also publishes a dozen magazines each year, and both newspapers publish up-to-the-minute local news online at gvnews.com. The Green Valley News and Sarita Sun, it's all right here.
As a small business owner, I appreciate the services of a top-notch certified public accountant. That's why Michael C. Flowers of Flowers, Rieger & Associates is the CPA firm of the Buckmaster Show. Michael's a former Small Business Leader of the Year in Tucson. He'll professionally handle all of your accounting needs and tax preparation services. Flowers, Rieger & Associates, 6125 East Grant Road, and on the web, flowersrieger.com.
Green Things is a family-owned and operated plant nursery serving Tucson since 1970. Open daily at 3384 East River Road, Green Things is chock full of plants and pottery from around the world. Green Things is also now home to Zocalo, featuring fine Mexican and South American imports spread over 5 buildings on the 13-acre Green Things property. For more, visit greenthingsaz.com and zocalovillage.com.
Welcome back to the Buckmaster Show as we continue with our Sun Corridor, the Pivot Playbook. We've been focusing today on one of the 5 focus areas of the Pivot Playbook, and that is workforce development and training. The Chancellor of Pima Community College, Lee Lambert, is with us on the live line, as is Adriana Kong Romero, Market President for Bank of America in Tucson and Southern Arizona. Chancellor Lee Lambert, you chaired this focus group for the Pivot Playbook about training a highly skilled workforce. What are a couple of the key recommendations that you made in this new plan for our region?
First of all, it was an honor and pleasure to serve in that role. I think some of the things I would just briefly touch on is really looking at how we can continue to support our local businesses by providing them state or local tax breaks to support work-based learning. So what that means is to support internships for students to come in and do on-the-job training or apprenticeships. Also to look at expanding what we call integrated education training models for adult education folks, so they can come in, get the basic skills, get the workplace skills they need to go back into work and get that that college education as well as their high school diploma, depending on their circumstances. Also, putting in place other types of policies. For example, when you look at our high school participation rate in college, 1 year after, it's not very good. It's below 50%. So what if we could get more students participating in dual enrollment, especially dual enrollment, career technical education, starting in the 9th grade? And by the way, I want to thank the governor and the legislature for passing a recent bill that will allow us to do exactly just that where we can start taking 9th graders and 10th graders, put them into these programs instead of them having to wait to being, juniors and seniors or graduates. So those are just some of the many things. And one last thing I'll hit on about this, creating a local fund to support reskilling, upskilling efforts here in the community long before the need is there. So that way we can be proactive instead of reactive, especially as new companies are looking to come in the area or to expand in our region.
Lee, where would the funding come for that fund?
It would come from the existing base of employers as well as from the county and the city and looking at other entities and from the state. And so if we start to be more proactive like other communities have, they've created these funding pools that allow them to do this. I think it's time for us to do this not only at the state level, but for us, more importantly, in our region at the local level.
Adriana, a little bit about if you would weigh in on, we talked in our first segment a bit about the post-COVID economic recovery. Are you optimistic? Are things looking good? Is your Bank of America assessment pretty good for 2022?
No, we're definitely seeing that recovery, and we see that not only within our individuals, but also with our business clients. We see a lot more investment, and things like the Pivot Playbook are really going to help the community pivot. It'll take a collective effort from public and private entities, and that's why for many years Bank of America partnered with local nonprofits, elected officials, and business and civic leaders to help drive this economic opportunity in the areas of health, jobs, and affordable housing, as these are the areas where significant change is required to achieve this sustainable process. So as we look at it, going forward in 2022, we'll continue to build on all of the advancements and things that we learned from 2020, so that way we can, come out of this a lot stronger.
The massive job losses during the pandemic means workers need to be retrained and reskilled to find new ones. Lee Lambert, when you look at that, how do you assess a worker who has been displaced? What are a couple of the elements that you look at as you determine a path forward for these individuals, please?
So first, let me talk about the learner themselves. First, we need to assess if they are someone who just needs a little refocus and they already have the skills that just need to be transferred versus someone who will need some additional training support in addition to already having the transferable skills. And so maybe a short-term training of 6 months or less to get them up to speed. And then you have another group who will need to come in for longer-term training. So we need to assess that, but then we also have to understand better what the employers need in terms of the skills, so that we're not just focused on a degree as a proxy for the skills, but understanding the actual skills that they will need, and then match that against what that learner has, and then you have your gap analysis, and then we can start to provide the actual training that's needed.
How about rapid advancements in automation? How Lee Lambert, is that going to what response? How does that play into the response to the pandemic, please?
So the automation is going to be critical because this was already happening in the economy prior to the pandemic. The digital skills segment has been growing the fastest in most sectors of the economy. So we already knew that, and so we were already preparing to equip people with those digital skills, digital tools, and so now it's just been accelerated. Right now, we've all been using Zoom as an example of that. So we're learning how to use the technology as part of our daily work lives. We just need to make sure everybody knows how to use those tools to do collaborative work, drive greater efficiency and productivity, et cetera. And so our job is to make sure we get them trained in that areas.
Adriana, let's bring you in one more time for a few of your closing remarks. What else would you like to bring to the table here? What else is important in helping the Tucson community pivot?
Definitely. The progress will be achieved together. I mean, that's the key. With partnerships such as the exceptional leadership of the Sun Corridor team, our local leaders, nonprofit partners, businesses and organizations, just like Pima College with leaders like Chancellor Lambert, being equipped with a pivot playbook, I'm confident that Tucson will come back stronger and even more competitive than ever. This is what we as a community are working towards, and the lessons we've learned from today's challenges are truly shaping the changes and innovations we'll need for a better tomorrow.
And Lee Lambert, the collaborative effort, a few comments about how this has all come together, in your opinion, so far.
If you think of what Sun Corridor and the group of outstanding leaders there, our ability to anticipate the future, that's what the playbook is about. Sun Corridor had the foresight to say we need to put something in place to accelerate, and so we were ahead of the game even before what was happening on the national and state level. So you have a group of visionary leaders from Joe Snell and his team to the Adrianas and her team and so many other people in our community. We're just fortunate we have a great group of leaders who think ahead.
All right, Lee Lambert, Chancellor, Pima Community College, Adriana Kong Romero, the Market President for Bank of America in Tucson and Southern Arizona. Thank you for talking and focusing on one of the 5 focus areas for the Sun Corridor Pivot Playbook, and that is the very important, they're all important areas, but workforce development in training is certainly a real key there. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill, for having me.
Thanks a lot. And that will wrap it up for the Buckmaster Show on this Thursday edition. Hope you will join us tomorrow for the Buckmaster radio interview with Tim Tomyer, who is the Assistant City Manager, and one of Tim's focus areas is Tucson water, so there's a lot to talk about there. That'll wrap it up on behalf of our guests, and thank you very much, Tom Fairbanks, engineering and producing the show. I'm Bill Buckmaster. Dave Ramsey's very popular show on money is coming up next. Have a great afternoon, everybody.